What if, in the dead of night, when the world is hushed and your body feels impossibly heavy, you open your eyes and see something standing at the foot of your bed? Not a shape you can name. Not a trick of the light. But a figure so utterly black it swallows the darkness around it, two-dimensional, silent, watching. You try to scream. Your lungs won't obey. You try to move. Your limbs are stone. And in that frozen moment, as your pulse hammers against your ribs like a trapped bird, you realize, it's not just watching. It knows you're awake. This is not a nightmare. Not exactly. This is the encounter countless people across continents, centuries, and cultures have described with chilling consistency. They call them the shadow people. Long before internet forums lit up with whispered confessions and shaky bedroom recordings, long before the term shadow people entered the lexicon of modern paranormal discourse, human beings were seeing figures in the dark, figures that defied explanation, that hovered on the threshold between dream and waking, spirit and hallucination. From the jinn of pre-Islamic Arabia, shapeless, intelligent entities made of smokeless fire, to the incubus of medieval Europe, who would sit upon sleepers' chests and steal their breath, the archetype of the shadowy intruder has haunted the human imagination for millennia, but the contemporary form, the stark, featureless silhouette, often wearing a wide-brimmed hat, motionless yet radiating intent, began to crystallize in the late 20th century. The earliest documented cluster of such reports emerged in the 1980s and 1990s, coinciding with the rise of sleep research and the public's growing awareness of sleep paralysis. Yet even then, the descriptions carried echoes of far older traditions. In West African folklore, the Ads, a vampiric entity that appears as a firefly or a shadow, slips into homes at night to feed on the life force of the sleeping. In Mesoamerican belief, the Nawal, a shape-shifting spirit, can manifest as a dark double, a shadow self sent to spy or curse. And in ancient Mesopotamian texts, the Lilu demons, malevolent spirits of the night, were said to visit women during sleep. Bringing nightmares and dread, the global recurrence is uncanny. Whether in Tokyo, Lagos, Buenos Aires, or rural Appalachia, witnesses describe the same core elements: a humanoid void, darker than the surrounding blackness, often motionless, sometimes gliding without footsteps, always exuding an aura of cold, focused malevolence. So what do they look like, really? Imagine this: you're lying in bed, half awake. The room is familiar, the dresser, the window, the faint glow of streetlight through the blinds. Then, in your peripheral vision, a patch of darkness detaches itself from the wall. It doesn't move like a person. It doesn't breathe. It simply is. A perfect silhouette, tall, slender, arms hanging loosely at its sides. No eyes. No mouth. No texture. Just an absence so complete it seems to warp the air around it. Sometimes, perched atop its head, is a hat, wide-brimmed, old-fashioned, like something from the 1920s. This variant, known online as the Hat Man, has become the most iconic incarnation of the phenomenon. Witnesses report a pressure in the room, a sudden drop in temperature, a metallic taste on the tongue, the smell of ozone or burnt hair. Others hear nothing but a low hum, like distant electricity, or worse, absolute silence, as if sound itself has been vacuumed away. The figure rarely speaks. It doesn't need to. Its presence communicates everything: you are being observed. You are vulnerable. And it has no intention of leaving. There are patterns. Almost all encounters occur between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., the so-called witching hour, when melatonin peaks and the boundary between REM sleep and consciousness thins. Many report the experience during periods of extreme stress, sleep deprivation, or grief, times when the mind is already frayed at the edges. And crucially, movement is impossible. Not because the body is weak, but because the brain, still partially locked in REM atonia, the natural paralysis that prevents us from acting out dreams, refuses to release control. You are conscious. You are aware. But you are a prisoner in your own flesh, and the shadow watches. Science offers a compelling, if incomplete, map of this territory. Sleep paralysis, a well-documented neurological event, occurs when the brain awakens while the body remains in REM-induced paralysis. During this state, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, becomes hyperactive, while the prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thought, lags behind. The result? Vivid, terrifying hallucinations layered onto reality. Researchers like Dr. Balan Jalal of Cambridge University have shown that cultural background shapes these hallucinations. Italians often see the pandafesh, a witch-like hag, Egyptians report jinn, Canadians see shadowy intruders. The form changes. The fear does not. Other theories point to environmental triggers. Infrasound, low-frequency vibrations below human hearing, can induce feelings of unease and visual distortions. Carbon monoxide poisoning causes hallucinations and paralysis. Temporal lobe epilepsy can produce complex visual phantoms. Even the architecture of old homes, drafts, creaking floorboards, flickering lights, can seed the imagination in the right, or wrong, psychological state, and yet. Science stumbles at the edges. Why do so many unrelated individuals, across languages, religions, and continents, describe the same entity? Why the hat? Why the stillness? Why the overwhelming sense of intentionality, not random noise, but focused observation? Sleep paralysis explains the mechanism, yes. But it doesn't fully account for the content. The shared imagery. The archetypal weight. In many spiritual traditions, the shadow figure is not a glitch, it's a messenger. In some indigenous American cosmologies, such beings are spirit walkers, entities that traverse the veil between worlds, appearing only to those whose perception has momentarily thinned. In esoteric Christianity, they are fallen watchers, remnants of ancient celestial rebellions. In modern occult circles, their thought forms, psychic residues created by collective fear, feeding on attention, growing stronger with every retelling. To dismiss them as mere hallucinations is to ignore the profound human need to make meaning of the inexplicable. To believe in them absolutely is to risk losing oneself in the dark. Perhaps the truth lies in the tension between the two. So what are they? Are they neurological ghosts, flickers of misfiring synapses dressed in the costume of our deepest fears? Or are they something older, stranger, entities that have walked the edge of human consciousness since we first learned to fear the dark? Maybe the answer isn't either/or. Maybe the shadow people exist precisely because of the overlap, where biology meets belief, where the mind's vulnerability opens a door that culture rushes to fill. In that liminal space, between breath and breath, between sleep and waking, something slips through. And it wears a hat, because here's the thing about shadows: they cannot exist without light. And they cannot exist without an observer. The moment you look away, it vanishes. The moment you deny it, it fades. But the moment you feel it, really feel it, standing at the foot of your bed, blacker than black, watching with eyes it doesn't have, it becomes real, not in the way a table is real, but in the way a memory is real. In the way trauma is real. In the way a story told in the dark can change the shape of your night forever. So tell us, have you seen it? Would you recognize it? If it came back?